see. Okay, there we go. All right, hello. Thank you so much for joining me. All right. Make sure there. Thank you so much for joining me. And my name is Will Johnson. UniteAmericaFirst.com is the website. Here's the proof. Here's the proof that everybody's been looking for about who's calling what against who. Right? So we're going to get right into it. I'm not going to even waste any time here. We're just going to go right into it. So did y'all see the video with Lindsey Graham? Did y'all see this? This is with Lindsey Graham. He's on here talking about 15 weeks. And you have to ask yourself a question. Why all of a sudden is he getting to 15 weeks when it comes to abortion, right? I mean, he's like, okay, let's just work with the Democrats. And this is what I'm constantly saying about Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney, Adam Kissinger, and Dan Crenshaw, and even Kevin McCarthy. You know, sometimes Kevin McCarthy. They're literally Democrats. And and the only reason why he's doing this, and I'm about to play it for you, talking about 15 weeks is because he wants to, appease the Democrats because we're going into the midterm election, right? And he wants people to believe like, oh, you know what? We need to go ahead and do this and unify. You don't unify for death. I'm just saying it. I'm going to be straight out for it. You cannot unify together over death, right? And he's trying to say, well, at 15 weeks, the science say that they can feel pain. That's what he's saying. That's 15 weeks they can feel pain, so we need to cut it off at 15 weeks like the rest of the world. Well, if you're truly a Christian, it doesn't matter. 15 weeks or 15 minutes as a Christian. And that's what I'm saying. You cannot be a Democrat. You can't even be a Lindsey Graham and a true Christian. Listen to what he says here. And I'm gonna play something else. I think he got scared. Because of what another Democrat senator said. And I think he got scared. So he said, okay, let's do something because they're going to come get us. Listen to this.
So here's what I think we will be doing about the unborn. We will introduce legislation, along with a lot of my colleagues, to basically get America in a position at the federal level I think is fairly consistent with the rest of the world. Can we? We have charts. Shows you how serious we are. All right, 15 weeks. A baby's at the 15-week period. What does that mean? Well, it means if you're going to operate on the baby, which happens, to save the child's life, to provide medical treatment, the standard practice in medicine is to provide anesthesia. Now, why would you do that? You provide anesthesia because the science tells us at the 15-week period, the nerve endings of the baby are pretty well developed and the child feels pain. So here's our point, that if you have to provide anesthesia to keep the baby from feeling pain to help save its life, should we as a nation be aborting babies that can feel excruciating pain from an abortion? Here's what I think. I think we should have a law at the federal level.
And see, I'm already disagreeing there. It should be the way the Constitution intended it. It should be at the state level. Let the people decide. Let the people decide whether or not if they want to contribute into taking the life of an innocent child. Let the state decide. Right? Like California, we know what's going to happen in California, New York, unless the people wake up and realize that this is not a good thing for humanity. But they're literally on here he's justifying taking the life of a child. When the child starts forming, regardless, it is forming. Unless something intervenes, that child at 15 minutes is going to continue to grow. Regardless.
That would say after 15 weeks, no abortion on demand, except in cases of rape, incest, to save the life of the mother. And that should be where America's at.
You know what? That's one thing America should be at, right? But they don't want just that. They want to take the life of the child no matter what. They want to use abortion as a means of birth control, to erase their mistakes. Like, oh, I made a mistake. Let me erase this.
And what would that mean if we adopted that position? The next chart. Where are the chart people? If we adopted my bill, our bill, we would be in the mainstream of most everybody else in the world. I think there are 47 of the 50 European countries have a ban on abortion from 12 to 15 weeks. And I picked 15 weeks, which is a little longer than Belgium, Germany, and Spain, longer than France, Denmark, and Norway. Now, why did I do that?
Because he wanted to make the Democrats, try to make them happy in some kind of way.
So I feel comfortable at 15 weeks, the science tells us that the nerve endings are developed to the point that the unborn child feels pain. So the theory of the case here is not to be like Europe so much, is to have a standard in America that would prohibit abortions during the birthing process at a stage where it's pretty clear from the science and most of the world, this should be a no-go.
You know what? The problem I have here is they're justifying it again. You're either pro-life or you're not, right? And I can understand some people go, well, if it's incest or rape, but you know what? I've heard the argument, and I tend to agree with the argument that it's not the child's fault. It's not the child's fault, right? And there's been plenty of children because of rape that have become successful citizens in the world. But see, it's not even really about that. It's about them being able to take the life of the child, period. And I'm getting ready to play the video for you on the reason why I think he's coming out. Now, I don't even know what order they came in. It's really irrelevant because they probably had some kind of conversation about when this was going to take place. Now, imagine a Republican not getting something that they want, or a Republican lost something, and then Republican said that they need to call to arms. What do you think would happen? The FBI would be at their door immediately. There would be an investigation. Something would happen. Well, this Democrat literally she's literally calling to arms. She wants people to call to arms against pro-life Americans. And she says it. She says it. If you haven't hit the share button yet, hit it now. Because listen to what she says. She's actually saying that they need to call to arms against those who want to protect the sanctity of life. You can't make this stuff up. She literally says it. Listen.
The word hypocrites, it doesn't even go far enough to call them out on what they're doing. This is an outright attack on women in this country. That is how I see it. That is how more and more women and those who support our right to make decisions about our own bodies, that is how we see it. And why? Because that's what's happening.
Now listen to this.
Madam President, I yield the floor, but clearly, this is a literally call to arms in our country.
Did you hear what she just said? She said this is literally a call to arms in our country. What does that mean? What does that actually mean? And because if you say call to arms, that means they're going to pick up weapons and go after pro-American, pro-life Americans. That's what she literally calling for, that, to go after pro-life Americans. If any Republican even thought about uttering the words, they will be screaming, talking about the FBI, go pick them up. I don't care if they're a politician or not. Anybody that's saying call to arms because they're not getting something that they want, or they feel that they're about to lose some power, she literally threatened. Okay, so Joe Biden calls half of America domestic terrorists, and now she's saying that the half that wants to protect life, that they should call to arms to go after them. So what are they going to use the 87,000 armed IRS agents to do that? Is that what it is? Is that what they're going to do? That's the proof you need right there. She literally said it. A call to arms against pro-life Americans. And she has the nerve and audacity to talk about hypocrites. Who's the hypocrite? We want the child to live in the womb and out of the womb. And you know how they always say that, oh, you only care about the children while they're in the womb? That's not true. Because if that was the case, we wouldn't be complaining. We wouldn't be trying to bring attention to you sexualizing children in grade school at the age of 5. There was a teacher, and of all places here in the state of Texas, I would imagine to happen in California or in New York. But here in all the places, Texas, there was a teacher that was talking about MAPs, minor attractive persons, right? MAP, minor attractive persons. And some kid recorded the teacher saying it, and the teacher said that you shouldn't come down or talk bad or judge an adult that's wanting to have sex with a minor, a 5-year-old kid is what she said. That is terrible. Them taking kids to the Dragon Queen events, that's not good. So if we didn't care about children, we wouldn't be talking about that. See, they just talk out the side of their necks and not even realize what they're saying. Let me get onto a bigger story. I mean, that's a huge story. Her calling to arms already is a big story. But let's talk about this affidavit. We still have to talk about it because now on Capitol Hill, they're actually having hearings about the raid on Mar-a-Lago. They're actually starting to talk about it. And if they're talking about it, information should come out about it, right? But listen to this interaction here on Capitol Hill talking about the affidavit. If they had information on President Trump, do you think they would hold it back so they can get public opinion, right? So if it was actually something there, they would not hold it back. They would just show it, right? They would leak it and say, look, see, President Trump, he did this. He was wrong, but they're not doing that. They redact everything because they want to hide something.
One of the great things that we've heard today is, hey, this is moot. This affidavit has already been released. Here's this page. Oh, it's all, wait a second, that's all redacted. How about this page? Oh, that's redacted. How about this page? Oh, my goodness, that's redacted as well. Let's keep going. Oh, goodness, how about this one? Redacted. Oh, it's moot to ask for this. Redacted. The reality is you don't want the information because the information is going to reveal that the FBI does operate against political opponents, particularly under this administration.
100%. 100%. You need more proof? You need more proof? Listen to this one. I mean, this is like the FBI strictly works for the tyrants in the government. Why is this, right? Listen to this.
We should break the FBI into 94 pieces because they ought to be decentralized. Main justice appears to be the problem. The Washington field office appears to be the problem. We ought to put the FBI under the supervision of United States attorneys and judicial districts all over the country. And there are 94 of those. I wish we had said it that way.
You know what? You're saying it now, but I guess it's too late. They don't care. They've already done it. They're taking people's cell phones, right? They took Mike Lindell's cell phone because he was helping someone, right? He was helping somebody. But did they get Hillary Clinton's cell phone? No. And we still don't know all the damage that she caused. We don't know. We don't know all the damage that she caused, and they still look the other way when it comes to her. What? Look at the Hunter Biden laptop. Have they raided anyone's home? Have they raided Hunter Biden? How much damage has he done? The connections outside of America.
China.
Right? The connections outside of the United States of America, the big guy. But they're so wanting to get President Trump and anyone on the right. Let me ask y'all a question. What's the difference between what Hitler was doing versus what the Biden regime is doing? Someone please allow me to send me the information on that. What is the difference? Right? Because they're doing the exact same thing. And I told you, and for those of you that was watching here in the beginning, I just played the clip where the Democrats they're saying call to arms against pro-life Americans. That's half the country. Probably more than half the country. Pro-life Americans, they're talking about take the arms against them. This is the Democrats saying it, but see, it's okay for them to say it. It's okay for them to want to be violent against conservative Christians. It's okay for them to do it, right? But then they suggest that we're the MAGA Republicans. They suggest, right? Oh, they're so violent. They're so violent. No proof of it. But we can show you $1 billion of insurance policies that was created by the Democrats because of all the destruction that they did. Now, listen to this one with Jim Jordan, where he's talking about it, because instead of them paying attention to the actual problems that we're seeing in this country, they want to go after President Trump and anyone that they feel is a threat to their authority.
Years ago, I represented a target of a subpoena, and when upon receipt of it, I realized that the content...
Sorry, this is not Jim Jordan. This is a different one. Listen, talking about Garland.
That was requested would be, if disclosed, violative of any number of principles of confidentiality. I asked then, obviously, I challenged the subpoena in court, and there were then opportunities to talk about what should be protected and what shouldn't. When I look at the sequence of events that have transpired here, and I look at, by the way, I'll get to the point here in a minute, which of course is our resolution, but when I look at the sequence of events where the Attorney General's office was working with the former president and his team in obtaining various records over the course of over a year and a half, I wonder why the process that was used was not the one that we followed back in our little Oregon, because it's so obvious that the process that was used was not necessary. The process of raiding the former president's home. What should, and it's been raised over and over again that this is not what happened to Hillary Clinton, and this is not what happened in previous similar situations. And instead, the dialogue continued. Certainly not what happened here. The appropriate action here would have been for the grand jury to issue a subpoena for the boxes of material that they had just seen a few days earlier, and then Trump's lawyers would have had the opportunity to challenge the subpoena on various grounds. And then they could have sorted through which material was classified, which material reflected attorney-client privilege. That's what should have happened, but for some reason it didn't.
Well, it didn't because they're fishing. They're trying to find something. They're trying to, anything and everything that they can find on President Trump, that's what they're looking for. They're not actually looking for any documents. And you know what? Well, actually, I think they are looking for documents, right? I think they're looking for documents. If you ask me, in my opinion, they're looking for documents that actually shows and expose how the FBI knew about the fake dossier and how they were hiding it and who was hiding it. And the upper level on the 7th floor, they know that President Trump probably has these documents and they want to get them from him because they could go to prison for doing that. They should go to prison for doing that. And we all know it. But they're all still walking free. And you know what? They couldn't leave it alone. It's like they're running scared. They're so terrified that President Trump is going to present these documents because he was president. He had privy to all of those documents when they fraudulently did this. And then after they knew that it was fake, they still proceeded with it. That's a major problem. And they're afraid of President Trump coming back and then bringing the hammer down. Because a lot of times in the second term, a lot of things happen. Listen to this.
Now, People can go back and say, well, a subpoena had been filed earlier, but that was months earlier. There had been ongoing dialogue right up to the point of the raid. I don't get it.
Mr. Benson, if you'll yield.
Let me finish. No, I'm not going to yield.
All right.
Thank you for not yielding. You see how the Democrat wants to get in there, how the Democrat wants to stop him from talking because they don't want the public to hear what he's about to say.
Interesting is because there were alternative tools available for the AG to use, and he chose not to. You have to ask, why would the Attorney General want to throw, as I've said earlier in other interviews on this topic, gasoline on a political fire? Why? What could possibly be the benefit? Well, I know, because this is a political matter, and the other focus on issues involving our former president was wearing thin, and this gave an opportunity for a new focus, which is exactly what we're about today. But what we're trying to do is perhaps bring this dialogue to an end by looking at the very affidavit that prompted the raid. Now, that affidavit better contain all kinds of things that say those records were about to be destroyed. Now, you know what? They weren't. The president was 1,000 miles away. So, that's why you go into one of these things with a search warrant, because you fear that there's going to be something that you're trying to lay your hands on that's going to disappear.
Exactly. President Trump was in New York at the time, and I don't know if y'all remember, but I don't think anybody else actually caught onto it, but the Communist News Network said that President Trump was trying to flush evidence down a toilet while they were coming into his home. And he was in Maryland. He was in New York. Right? Remember that? And they literally said that he was trying to flush evidence down the toilet. They were reporting it as such.
But I actually looking at a editorial here, it's important to note that Trump himself was 1,000 miles away when the FBI search and seizure occurred. It would have been impossible, therefore, for him to destroy the subpoenaed evidence, especially if the subpoena demanded immediate production. If he or anyone else destroyed the evidence to subject to a subpoena, there would have been a far more serious crime than what the search warrant seems to have alleged. What we're asking today is let's see the affidavit. I mean, what's everybody scared of? We'd like to see it. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but we'd sure like to see it. You know what, that I'm going to yield to Mr. Bishop of North Carolina.
You know what? We should be able to see it, right? The American people should be able to see it. But they're not showing it because they're hiding something. They're literally hiding something. Okay, now let me get into this clip with Jim Jordan, because this one is extremely powerful. That last one was good, but even in this one, y'all remember what Bill Barr said? Jim Jordan here, basically, he's not going to mention Bill Barr's name. He doesn't have to. But Bill Barr said that President Trump was fighting with the FBI over a year, trying to prevent the FBI from getting the documents, trying to prevent them from seeing all the information that President Trump had. When President Trump already said, take whatever it is you need. So my question to everyone that's watching right now, even there's probably some rhinos on here watching too. Do you trust Bill Barr or do you trust Jim Jordan? Who do you trust? Because President Trump made it clear that he told him, he said, take whatever it is that you need the first time they came to his home, because they made a scheduled appointment. They worked it out. They said, we're going to come to your home. We're going to see and check XYZ out. He worked it out with him. He said, take whatever it is you need. So they knew what he had. Listen to this, because this is extremely powerful. This exposes everything what the FBI has been doing, what the Democrats have been doing, Joe Brandon, every last one of them. The country is completely divided. Listen to this.
You mentioned in your opening statement we could be spending our time on improving our nation's security. Yes, we could, and we have tried to do that for now almost 2 years. We have a border that is no longer a border. We'd love to talk about it. We'd love to talk about the fact that we went from safe streets to record crime in every major urban area and try to figure out how we can help those situations. But you guys won't do it. I think I speak for every Republican member on the Judiciary Committee, probably every Republican member in Congress. We would love to focus on those issues, but you won't do it. You talked about the FBI, and we shouldn't be disparaging the FBI. I agree. The vast majority of the Americans, I think your quote was Americans doing their job at the FBI. I agree with that. They're good people. In fact, we know of 14 of them who've come to our office as whistleblowers and talked about the political nature that overwhelms the Washington field office and the FBI. That's our concern. The FBI lied to the FISA court. The FBI altered evidence to the FISA court. That's not Republicans on the Judiciary Committee saying that. That's Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General. And they did so they can spy on President Trump's campaign. They even had a woman pose as someone else, use the name as rhetoric to bump into one of the people who worked on the Trump campaign. You know what they call that? Spying.
Spying. Exactly. You remember when President Trump mentioned how they had a wiretap on his campaign? Y'all remember that? They said they were wiretapping, meaning they were listening in, and they were all making fun of him. Oh my goodness. Listen to him. He said wiretapping. No one wiretaps. No one's going in there and wiretapping. They don't have to do that anymore. The technology has already exceeded that. And they knew exactly what President Trump was talking about. Regardless if you say wiretapping or doing surveillance or spying, it's still the same thing. And then they tried to deny it because he said the word wiretapping. And now it's all coming out. I'm telling y'all, hear me now, believe me later on. I'm telling you, I'm willing to bet that President Trump has those documents that actually exposes the FBI and all of the fraudulent stuff that they did. And they want those documents. They want those. And see, if I was President Trump, I'm just saying, if I was President Trump, I wouldn't keep him at Mar-a-Lago. I'd keep him someplace you will never find him until I need him. That's what I would do if I was President Trump. President Trump's a billionaire. You mean to tell me, come on now? And the man played 4D chess. He plays 4D chess. If they already came to his home one time before over some fraudulent stuff, you know they'll come back again, right? They're probably just waiting for another time to go back. But listen to this. This is so powerful.
They did it. The Comey memos, he leaked them to get a special. Okay, we can go. I don't want to go through all the history, but it's worth. I think it is worth just pointing to that. That's what happened at the FBI, and now we have this, the issue in front of us. Why this resolution of inquiry is so necessary. Last month, the FBI took the unprecedented step of raiding the home of a former president of the United States. Never happened in American history. And I would point out, not just the former president, but the likely presidential candidate for the Republican Party to run against the very Justice Department the Biden administration had go raid his home. The raid on the president's residence represents a shocking escalation of Biden administration's weaponization of law enforcement resources against its political opponents. The American people deserve transparency and accountability, and that's why this ROI is necessary, not some heavily redacted affidavit. We want to know the truth. The Biden DOJ is hidden behind a formal policy of not commenting on the investigation, all the while engaging in selective leaks of salacious accusations without any context to them. In fact, on August 11th, 2022, last month, Attorney General Garland addressed the search for the first time, had a press conference, and he said, "I have made clear that the Department of Justice will speak through its court filings and its work." Well, if you made it clear, why'd you have to give a press conference? Why'd you go talk about it? On the very same day, though, the Washington Post reported that FBI agents were seeking quote, classified documents relating to nuclear weapons, according to leaks from, quote, people familiar with the investigation. So much for letting the court filings speak for your work. You did a press conference, and then people familiar with your work leaked it to the Washington Post. So if that's going to happen, why not let the American people in on it all? Just show us the affidavit. The New York Times later reported that President Trump had, quote, more than 300 classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, according to leaks from, again, quote, people briefed on the matter.
Now, listen to what he says here, because I want y'all to remember, and I should have got the clip with Bill Barr, where when he went on the television and he's sitting there saying that President Trump was fighting with the FBI. He's been fighting for over a year with these documents, allowing them to come in and see it. Listen carefully. This is like the most, I mean, all of this has been really important information. It's just mind blowing, right? And they're literally talking about the corruption that they're doing. They're not even hiding the fact that they're doing the corruption now. But if y'all haven't been paying attention, this is where you really need to tune in, hone in, and pay attention to what he's saying here, because this is the actual facts. This is the actual truth. Bill Barr working with these Democrats, they all want to go after President Trump. They want President Trump out of the way. And you know what, Bill Barr, he should know better. He should know better, but he's part of the establishment, along with Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, and see, President Trump, he knows the playing field now. See, when he first went in there, he was learning about how everything works. But President Trump, he knows now. Why do you think that the first time in American history, that they're going after somebody who's not even in any political position? They're terrified because they know that if he comes back, all of a sudden, I can see it right now. All of a sudden, the documents about the fake dossier and Russia. Oh, that's going to just, here it is, come to light, and then bam. That's what they don't want. Now, listen carefully. If you haven't been paying attention, listen here.
So it's fine for the FBI to go leak it, but the American people can't see what the whole basis is in the affidavit itself. And Mr. Chairman, there's no reason this raid was necessary. Until the raid, we had seen ample evidence of cooperation. In January of 2022, President Trump voluntarily turned over 15 boxes of material. In May, President Trump voluntarily accepted service of a grand jury subpoena that sought documents bearing classification markings. Throughout June of 2022, the Department and President Trump's lawyers engaged in discussions about the matter. On June 2nd, President Trump, through his lawyers, invited FBI to visit Mar-a-Lago to retrieve responsive documents. On June 3rd, the Department and FBI officials visited Mar-a-Lago, and President Trump allowed them to inspect his storage room, even provided responsive documents during the visit.
Let me stop it real quick. I told you, you hear this, and Bill Barr lied. Bill Barr actually lied, along with the rest of them. All of the Democrats, the liberal media, they all lied. Listen.
During the visit, President Trump told them, quote, "Whatever you need, just let me know." On June 8th, the FBI requested that the president further secure the storage room, which he did. Despite all of this, the Attorney General personally approved the decision to seek a warrant for excessive and unprecedented access to President Trump's private home. During the Biden administration, the department has shattered public confidence in the equal application of the law. The department has filed politically motivated lawsuits against Republican-led states, artificially inflated domestic violence extremism statistics. We know that because a whistleblower has told us that they're juicing the numbers. And he's used counterterrorism resources to target parents at school board meetings. And again, we know all that because brave whistleblowers at the FBI agents have come forward and talked to us. The department has also selectively prosecuted and investigated political opponents of the Biden administration. A pattern has also emerged of Attorney General Garland seeking to prosecute cases against political opponents through leaks to friendly media sources rather than the courtroom. These actions not only undermine the stated mission of the department, they violate the most fundamental tenets of our country. That's why it's critically important that we get access to the unredacted affidavit. We must begin the process of bringing accountability to this agency. I would urge support for the resolution. Thank you.
We should. I mean, there should be accountability. But personally, I don't think that's going to come until President Trump returns. And they're trying to find out what President Trump has. They're trying to find out what does he have that can be damaging to the corruption that they've been doing. Because I'm telling you, maybe someone that's, a little bit, couple years older than me, that has been paying attention to politics, because I really didn't pay attention to politics that much until, Hillary Rodham Clinton and Trump. I looked at it a lot, but I didn't get engaged, right? I wasn't thinking that, oh my goodness, I need to get engaged. I didn't think about any of that until Hillary Rodham Clinton, right? And what changed me, because I used to be a Democrat, and thank you, Lord, for healing my mind, was Obama. When he lit up that White House in the sodomite colors, I couldn't float with it. I couldn't go with it. I couldn't go with it at all. He's 100% demonic. 100%. Hands down. All right, let me say thank you to a couple of people before I bounce out of here. You know, because this was happening in our country. It's going to get worse. Yeah, I talked about the recession last night, right? I talked about the inflation. And now the left are actually saying that you know what, maybe we should call this an inflation or recession. They're literally saying this. They're literally saying, well, maybe we should call it a recession now, because the left is even complaining about the Biden regime and what they have done to the country. They're even complaining about it now because it's hurting everybody. Everybody's being affected by it. Everybody's being affected by it. It's only going to get worse. So I want to say thank you to everyone that's in the midst of all this chaos, in the midst of our country, the economy, and you find it in your heart to bless me with the Facebook stars, with the Cash App, the Venmo, the Buy Me a Coffee. However it is, I want to say thank you. Seriously, I want to say thank you because of your support. I'm able to come on and share information with you. And I'm going to continue doing it. I'm going to continue doing it. Because the direction this country is headed is not going to be pretty. And every time they see a mega Republican win, every single time they see a mega Republican win the primary, they get that much more fearful. See, the Democrats, they live in fear. Their whole life is dictated based on fear. It really is. Think about everything that they've been trying to push onto society, everything that they've been trying to push onto us, everything that they want for children in the womb and out of the womb, they base it off of fear. Everything. Your health, they base it off of fear. Everything. And that fear goes right along with wokeness. All right, so it doesn't look like any came in. So, hey, I want to thank you all. Thank you so much. Oh, I was wrong. Sherry, thank you so much for the stars. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Cheryl, thank you for the stars. Thank you so much. Ruby, thank you for the stars. Chuck, thank you so much for the stars as well. Susan, thank you. Robin, thank you. Wow. George, thank you for the stars. All right. I think that is it. I guess I was rushing my producer. Thank you, everybody. Again, like I said, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you want to bless me another way, share this. If you're listening on the audio podcast, share it. You're watching on Facebook, share it. I wish YouTube and the other channels would let me know how many people have shared it. Like right now, it says 380 people have shared this. Please bless me by sharing it. I really appreciate it. Good night, everybody. Reality check.